Hello indie game fans, another lots of indie games that you can play right now with our usual mix of 1.0 releases, surprise, smaller games and content updates that I think are worth a mention. Let's begin with Mononoke Slashdown, a side-scrolling ninja action game that I think looks fantastic. The hand-drawn art is a highlight, combined with some fantastic interpretations of Japanese mythology-inspired enemies, and you got my attention. I'm not a fan of how the gameplay was shown off within a window in the trailer itself, so just a tip for indie developers. First things first, I do love this trailer for Ultimate Chicken Horse, since it combines their signature art style with a whole new trailer on a theme park just for this free DLC titled Hippo Party Plus. While on the surface, this looks a little content light, adding one new character in the hippo, one alternate skin, 4 outfits and 1 new level. I went to check and was pretty amazed by the popularity of this game, with player counts on Steam still peaking at over 2,000 5 years after release, and a massive 18,000 Steam reviews. So if you love this title but have not checked in, be sure to boot this up once again.
A single drop of ink created this world. Filled with mysterious puzzles, lively animals, and a couple living peacefully on the lake. A warrior who's left the sword behind him, and a nature-loving painter, all under the watchful eye of the artist. But challenges arise, and an evil lurks, because memories haunt this paper, and when they are revealed, retribution follows.
The next one's a strange release, since Inked: A Tale of Love was technically released in 2018, but for some reason, the developer has polished up the title and re-released it 3 years later, where the art in this puzzle adventure game is simply gorgeous. Set in a Japanese-inspired world, play as the nameless hero wielding a magical paintbrush as he seeks out his lost love, hopefully with a happy ending at the end of the story.
The stage is set. The fates are already inked. All you have to do is play along.
One of the neat drifting-focused racing games is Star Drift Evolution, following in the footsteps of games like Art of Rally, where this game launched out of early access late last month. There have been a slight uptick of photography games in recent memory, perhaps spurred on by the release of new Pokemon Snap, where the spooky cute Penko Park will be of interest to fans of the genre. This developer put out a huge free update in The Shivering Crypts, which adds a whole new level, 40 new monsters, for a total of 143, a new tool, outfits, collectibles, secrets, and more. I do think that this game is a hidden gem in the space, so if you have any love for this genre, do give it a go. A very special shoutout goes to channel viewer Christopher Ramsayer, who pointed out Custodian Beginning of the End to me, a pixel art Metroidvania that looks like a hidden gem. Pretty impressive look with decent looking action, where the amount of animation in the environment does look like an interesting trait. Looks pretty grimdark as well, so do check this out if it looks interesting. There have been a number of meta tycoon games about running a game development studio, where City Game Studio is one of the more recent entries, launching out of early access after 2 years. Interestingly, this begins in 1975, so you're able to take a little trip through gaming history with the releases of the different consoles, all with fake names of course, with a decent progression and unlock system to keep you playing. One of the games from last year that didn't quite hit as hard as it should have is Elder's Blood, being described as Bloodborne Tactics, where you play as the chief of a group of hunters, humanoid-looking things who are not quite human, having the sole purpose of vanquishing the darkness in order to protect humanity. In the 1.5 years or so since release, the developers have been hard at work, listening to community feedback, polishing and rebalancing the game, now under the Definitive Edition label, so if you bounced off this the first time around, perhaps do go back and give it a look. I mentioned Ira when covering the Steam Next Festival in summer, where this Korean bullet hell action roguelite got my attention with the gorgeous visuals and great looking action. Somehow, I missed the launch of this, so I do want to give it a very special shout out since this launch trailer looks great and will be for fans of the genre. The giant bosses shown off looks impressive, with bullet hell attack patterns that would not be out of place in something like Fury, making this a game of interest, but do note that it is in early access. Given that The Last Spell made my list of the best tactics indie games like Final Fantasy Tactics, link in the top right if you have not seen it, it's no wonder that their latest update, Glenwald Calling, is part of this list, adding a new map with some procedural generation which is very different from the first, adding even more enemies and a change in design, focusing on a shorter but more intense survival duration. It retains the signature pixel art, which looks great, the kick-ass soundtrack, and even adds new apocalypse levels, which are kind of like ascension levels in Slay the Spire, making this game even better. The runaway indie success of the year has to be Valheim, a game that has sold millions and millions of copies and came to us from, I believe, an initial team of 6 developers or so. As you can imagine, for such a small team to be managing a player population in the millions is a gargantuan task, but the developers did prioritize bug fixing, tweaks and optimization, only releasing their first major update, Hearth and Home, 8 months after the early access release. This adds new mechanics and updates based around the cooking and building aspect, hence the name, but what an amazing story in indie games, taking the #1 spot. For more of the best indie games, watch these videos and I will see you after the jump.